Hi, Armelle.
Hi, Christian. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Well, first of all, welcome, and welcome to all our guests online. Welcome to SportWorks Talks webinar with Armelle Canet. So today's topic is TV broadcast legacy: why, and how. I must say this is a really important topic to me. It's also, I was just saying to Armelle, the reason I formed my company, I called it Legacy Sport, because I think the legacy we leave is all about the people, and I think you're going to really enjoy this presentation by Armelle. So I'm going to hand over to Armelle to do some introductions and tell you a little bit about her. As always, with our webinars, we're going to do about a 20-minute presentation, and at the end, we've got time for Q&A. Please feel free to use the chat to pop your questions in there as they come to mind as you're going through the presentation, and then we'll cover them off at the end. All right. I wish you an enjoyable webinar. Thanks, Armelle.
Thank you, Christian.
Oh.
I get to... So I did start the slides. I want some to see them. Sorry. There it is. Yep. Yep, there it is. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Armelle Canet, very French name. I was actually born and raised internationally, mostly in Africa, in Malaysia, and Iraq. My upbringing had a strong influence in my career choices, as I was looking for a job where I travel, meet new people, and learn skills. I had a background in law. I have a background in law and marketing, and for sure, TV broadcast really give me this this extra span. Been working in broadcast since 2002, mostly cycling with Tour de France, car rallies, that was the Paris-Dakar, and also football on World Cups and Euros. So you can imagine that Asian Games was quite off the beaten tracks for me. Before starting my presentation and maybe going a bit more in depth on why you should do a TV broadcast legacy program and how you can do it with the experience I had on the Asian Games, I'd like to show you a little video which was actually produced by one of the 10 universities that we partnered with. And I think it's a good summary of what everybody got out of it.
Hey, Armelle, just 1 minute. If you can hear me okay, just check your microphone's turned back on again there.
Yes, sorry, my bad.
No worries. We'll do a quick rewind, about 30 seconds.
Okay, sorry, no worries. Yes, I hope you all liked the video. I surely did, and I think it's a very emotional moment for us because we had those 500 students. This was done by one of the universities, and I think it's a good summary of all the feedback that we had at the end of the project. And in some ways, that's all we were working towards. The idea of legacy is to give back and to educate differently. We come to big events, we produce big or small events, and we're going to be on site. We come with international team when it regards to broadcast. We come, we work, and then often we leave. I think our idea was to say, okay, we are going to leave something. We're going to have 500 students. Yeah, you heard me right. We recruited 500 students to assist our production teams. I think it can be part of a CSR program because you're not referring to volunteers. Volunteers usually subscribe on an event, participate in the event, and then they can be on any type of tasks. Freelancers, they're the ones you hire in your production crews. What we have with legacy students is that you're really looking at people who've done the trainings that you're looking at. They've studied in broadcast, they studied in communication, and you're going to have them on board to really give them an on-site experience and an idea of how the work environment, especially in broadcast, takes place at an international level. When I'm referring to what can they do, well, as I said before, they have the theoretical skills. What they have is, in this case, especially for Indonesia, it was language skills. We're in a country where people speak Bahasa. We had universities and we had events taking place. We had events actually taking place in several cities, in Bandung, in Jakarta, in Palembang. You didn't always have English speakers moving around. So having students who speak Bahasa, who speak English as well, we knew that was really going to be an added value for our production crews to move around, and having people who know their environment as well. So we always looked at recruiting students who were in those cities, with universities partnered in those cities, so that they could assist directly on site with knowledge of the environment. What they have that I don't have, well, it's a bit of a mix. They have no experience, it's true. They have the theoretical experience, but most of them, at least for Indonesia and for the Asian Games, had never worked on such a big event. So in that sense, they were quite flexible. They had preset ideas, but so did we. So at some point, this was also an opportunity to come face to face with those preset ideas. And as the project evolved, these preset ideas truly changed. Moreover, they're more connected than we're used to as well. So it was also an opportunity to work with them and do some reverse mentoring as well. You know, both sides are learning. Our production teams learned a lot and the students learned a lot. So I think that was really important. What's in it for you? I think you saw it in the video, you know, the whole, the exchange, they're very grateful as well. I think we got, out of the 500 students, we didn't have any, we had maybe 2 people who dropped out of the project because of language, or they were not really comfortable enough with the English. But generally, we got 498 people, which are actually also possible people to recruit for later on. You know, you've trained them, they got an idea of an international environment, and they can also apply for other programs when they get more experience on other international events happening in the country. So you're broadening your network in the various countries. And it's what I meant by the number of students as well. We went for 500, but that's not a given. That's something that you're going to identify pre-event. You know, you can do an event where maybe it's going to last only a weekend, maybe it's going to last only a week. You can have 2 interns, you can have 10 interns, you can have lots more as we had, because we had different venues as well. So that's where you need to be sure that you don't add people, you really just have people that you're sure you have time to train in some ways, but also going to bring some added values to your production teams or various jobs on site. For example, you also have the concept of shifting. You know, they're not going to be working for 10 hours a day. So those are things you need to include as well when you're trying to qualify how many people would actually need to join the legacy program. Sorry. So the idea of the menu is what we had on the Asian Games was a bit of a, and that's why I'm explaining all that we did on the Asian Games, because we were very lucky to be there. I mean, I was there for 8 months. So over the course of 8 months, we had time to develop a lot of different projects related to legacy. It's a menu because it's pick and choose. There are different forms of legacy. You know, you can have long-term interns, which is what we had as well for the construction department. They were working on the IBC construction. Architecture students specialized in AutoCAD who would really help for all the maps and the management of the project when they were on site. Workers were Indonesians, so it was a real big help for our team to have this coordination and have support from local students. We also had another product which is called Game News Update. That was about 5 days of internship per month over the course of 6 months. We had students who were selected, they applied for the program. Those who were chosen, they progressively, in that case, we really saw an evolution, because over the course of those 6 months, these students who were in broadcast knew how to film and they knew how to do interviews, but they knew it in, let's say, a different way. For example, I remember the first interviews they did, they'd just take a shot of somebody's eyes, then they would take a shot of somebody's mouth. And what our producer gave them as a first feedback was saying, no, you're interviewing someone, we want a clean shot, we need to see the person, we need to see his body language and his reaction. So these are just little examples of how the program evolved. And when we got to the event, they were actually doing an update every single day. So we went from once a month of doing a 2-3 minute piece that they edited themselves and edited, filmed and edited, to really doing some program and some content every day that we were using in the case of the additional content on the broadcast of the event. So that was amazing. Same for drone footage. I mean, one of them, Sam, he was born with a drone in his hand. So we had amazing drone footage thanks to him, and it was used even during the event for the opening ceremony, for example, because we had weather issues. Some of his footage got used in the international feed. So that was a great proof of how efficient this program was. The vignette competition, that's another form of legacy, because we did a competition beforehand. So these students applied. They were to produce a 30-second piece about what the Asian Games meant to them. And then we had an English producer and editor work with them. And as the competition went, you know, some people were selected, and we came down to the best team of 3 who did a 30-second animation, which was actually more cartoon animation about what the Asian Games meant. And they had all that support, and they had counseling during all the competition phase with international teams who are used to working on lots of important documentaries. So that was really good. But then we also had the event time positions, and I think that's where we had the most people, because we went close to the 450, 500 people who were really going to come in beginning of August, work on the event, either for an internship for their university or as a summer job, let's say. And that's another type of project that you can do, which involves your organization a bit differently. Our timeline was quite short. I would recommend closer to 2 years from what we've seen on other events, but we had 8 months. So we had to do with 8 months, and I think we were very lucky because we had a lot of support from our organization. Everybody was 100% on board with the project. And at the same time, we had support from the universities a lot, because that's an important thing to take on board. I mean, when you can see, regarding interviews, once everybody applied for the program, and we had 1,700 applicants, we actually ended up interviewing 1,301, which is huge, which, you know, in a normal HR context, you would think it would take ages. Well, we did it in 3 weeks. The way we did it is that there were 4 interviewees. We were each in different rooms. We each saw a student, but we saw them for 5 to 10 minutes. You're looking for people already who have the skills, the theoretical skills, because it's their line of studies. Might be broadcast, communication, engineering, for example. what you're looking at is their soft skills. How will they react in a stressful environment? How did they deal with responsibility? What's their English level, which was one of the determining factors as well. So it was long days, it was busy days, but I think we really got to we shortlisted to those 500 quite easily, actually. And then the last 3 months that we had before actually going to the event is, of course, all the admin. Once you get the students on board, you're going to be contracting them, because at some point you are going to pay them as well. They're not volunteers, so we adjusted to the local rates, but it was important for us that they got some sort of retribution for the work that they were doing for us. And it's also part of the responsibility, you know, the responsibility you give them, they feel they're on board the team. So that's where it's really important, and that's where I wanted to mention is, it seems like a huge project. 500 students was a lot, but we got lots of support. You get support from the team of experts around you. Our engineering department, our HR department, our finance department, when they were talking about having students, they would also come up with job description and give us a list of bullet items, you know, list of bullet points on what was really necessary in terms of skills. And I think that's something that that you need to rely on. Same for the universities. The universities know their students. We were partnering with 10 universities. You don't need to go to 10 universities. Our setup was due to the fact that we had so many host cities. You can partner with less universities, but they know their students. They know how to encourage them. And we had a lot of involvement from the universities regarding communication, organizing interviews in the universities. That was really positive. The local organizing committee, they know the event, they know the local legislation as well. They know the setup that they have. So they will be a great help for you. Support on site is more the freelancers that are going to be working during the event. You're not going to be in contact directly with all the interns once they start their legacy mission. You're going to delegate to other people, and the other people you delegate to, they're going to be the ones in contact with them daily. They're going to change the shift, they're going to change the mission, and it's going to evolve during the event, which I think is a really positive outcome of what we did during the event. HR is there to support you for the contracting, to support you for the insurance. So it's really important you get them on board the project as well. Regarding numbers, what I wanted to show you, well, first of all, no bias. We had more women than we had men, same for the application. And I think that was really positive to see that they were motivated by different jobs. They were motivated to be camera assistant, they were motivated to be audio assistant, the men were motivated to be with liaison information as well. And there was no bias. Which way we went, we were going for their soft skills, but we always saw a lot of motivation, and we were very surprised by, we were nicely surprised to see that that whatever the job, they had no limit to how much they were going to give us of their time and motivation as well. So whatever the positions filled, I think the key word is to say at some point there shouldn't be any bias on both sides. This is a bit of these are the pictures that I got from the different broadcast venue managers. I got them during the event, and as well, I took some myself when I got to see them at the IBC, because I was based at the broadcast center, and they were all over the country. As you can see, they were involved. They were part of the team. They were wearing uniforms as well, which was super important. What we saw is that, and the feedback that we got was 100% successful, in the sense that they took on the job, they took on the responsibility, they adjusted to the timings as well, which of course was a bit different. They also showed proactivity. Some of them were involved for the opening ceremony and the closing ceremony, and also dealing with the broadcasters. I think they brought an extra dimension to broadcasters dealing with production teams, and having the opportunity as well to work with locals was dealt with, or at least had a very good feedback on our side. Moreover, it got everybody to think a bit outside the box. Indonesia is a country, at least Jakarta, transport-wise was a bit complicated. So you had to adjust. Some of the students would do maybe an hour to get, or even 2 hours to get to their internship location. So it gave us also the opportunity to rethink the way that we worked, and listen to them as much as they were listening to us. So I think from both sides, we got a lot of very positive feedback. So yeah, I also got a lot of positive feedback, and God knows I improved my my selfie skills. That was mostly due to these pictures were mostly taken during our round of debrief that we did in the universities. And I think it's really important to include this in the project. Once this happens, once your project is done, if you have the opportunity to debrief with the universities, we went to all 10 universities because we were still in the country for 3 weeks. And we shared with them the lessons learned, but we also shared with them what to do next. They had this experience, how to make it a valuable experience on the long term. You know, connect. They had to reactivate their network, the people they talked to during the event, the different professionals they got to work with, to be sure that they keep regular contact, preferably on LinkedIn, not Instagram, because we're in an international professional environment. And yeah, be inclusive. I think that's one of the other good outcome of the experience. You need to be inclusive and you need to be ready to learn, because this is what is going to come out of the project for you. It's going to be a really big learning skill, learning process for you, as well as for the students. Thank you very much for your time. I think we need to switch to potential questions if you have some.
Hi, yeah, hey Armelle, that's wonderful. Great presentation. What a great project. Fantastic. I'm always so inspired by these activities that we undertake at the major sport events, and I think you've highlighted something that's it's really undervalued, I think, in terms of the return. So yeah, great project, well done. Amazing statistics there in terms of the participants and the ones who stuck it out for the whole duration. 2 dropouts due to language or due to compatibility. That's amazing. It highlights the strength of your process of recruitment, but also just the willingness of the students and of the participants in the program to really be a part of it. So great work.
So thank you very much. No, it's true that it was, in that sense, it was very positive, because having these students on Asian Games, as you say, there is a lot of involvement and there's a lot of motivation on our side. It's an international event. So we have a lot of capacities as well to organize such type of project. However, I think this presentation is also to show if you have a smaller event or if it's a shorter event, you shouldn't look away from doing a broadcast program, because it's going to bring you a lot and it's going to bring the students a lot. It's a different dimension than volunteers, and I keep on repeating it because I think it's important that you rely on their skills and that there is that will to be in a reverse mentoring setup to be sure everybody gets something out of it. So yeah, Indonesia was, I think it was a good, it was really good landmark project in the sense that that we covered different type of internships and that we also covered it on we had 8 months to organize it. I know not everybody has that time, but if you go through the basics, I think there are different ways of organizing it. If you're only in contact, for example, with 1 or 2 universities.
So on the actual operational front, you mentioned it about reverse mentoring, and I think it is, for us that have worked in the industry for a long time, the opportunity to give back. I think I love that concept. Did you find how receptive? I mean, broadcasters and the technical, it's a technical delivery. It has a high profile. It has high visibility. We can't afford to make mistakes. It has to go out on time. How did you manage that level of responsibility with the interns and their counterparts?
Well, that's where communication is key. Communication beforehand, to be sure that you've really given a big thought to the job descriptions. You're, as we're saying, you're not putting a student behind a camera, which is doing the host broadcast of the athletics 100 meter. There are bigger challenges behind it, but in terms of, for example, camera assistants, some of them were actually interns as well, because They were in venues that were a bit easier to manage, equestrian, for example, or shooting, or lots of the local combat sports as well. Yep. Then you can have more implications from the students. I think what's the other key thing that's going to be important is the communication you have with the broadcast venue managers, with your venue managers once they get on site. You need to be sure that the team of students that they have with them, they're going to be talking to them. Some of them they're going to be identifying are maybe better to be on the track, on the pitch. Other ones are going to be better at helping in the office. Others are going to be helping with communicating with broadcasters because they're a bit more at ease as well with talking to foreigners. So all of this, I think it's really important. The communication is going to be key. You're not overselling it to the students, but you're not overselling it to your team either. And I mentioned at some point, the coffee, just doing the coffee runs, which is something you put as well. But that's the thing. We see coffee runs as saying it's for somebody who's done studies, why the hell would you do this? But then it's explaining to them, this is going to be a moment where you're going to be, this is going to be an opportunity for you to network. It's going to be an opportunity for you to, the coffee is a moment where if you bring coffee to someone, you're creating some sort of, you're loosening the tension. So you're creating that bond as well.
It's an essential part of any production office. I think, it's definitely undervalued, but it is a key point. We've got a couple of questions come through, so thanks for the answer on that. So I'm just going to go to Nio. So hi, Armelle.
Well, I can't hear you well.
It's 2018. Have you followed up with any of the students, or are you still in touch with any of them? Or in touch with them?
I am. I'm in contact with my team, especially, which I haven't mentioned, but I didn't do all of this on my own. I had two young women, Indonesian women, Tria Vidyanti and Erlina Fitris, who were working with me, as well as Nidi, who was working in the Paris office. So I did have a lot of support. I'm still in contact with them, and we do talk about it a lot. I'm in contact with some of the universities as well, where we really had a bond. And also we had a language factor because some of the universities, the contact I had in the university did not always speak English or was not very comfortable with English. So that's why I kept in contact with some universities more than others. And I'm in contact as well with some of the students because they follow me and I follow them on LinkedIn. So we kept the bond in that way as well. To be honest, I have not kept up with the 500 students just because else I literally not have a job since 2018 and spend my time online. But yeah, I've tried to keep contact with some of them for sure.
That's great. I think there's a follow-up question there. Is like, were you able to identify one or two sort of outstanding students that could have been sponsored, by recommending them to different organizations? Was that? So we have
the one I was mentioning regarding the drone filming. I think he really showed exceptional skills. And if you want a drone pilot, a drone cameraman in Indonesia, I can highly recommend him. But yeah, there was in that team that we had on a longer term, there were quite amazing prospects. I think the other ones that were identified, that was more done with the broadcast venue managers, which means the people on site, the one who were responsible for them and the venue managers, they worked more closely, let's say, on this relationship and referring them and getting them also on other projects and trying to get them on international projects. The moment, what's the case with Indonesia at the moment is that it's a bit harder for them to travel around. There's a lot of countries where they need visas. So it's more an opportunity that we have recommendation of people, if they go and film in Indonesia, that's where we have recommendation for people who worked with us.
Okay, great. So there is ways, different routes and different paths through the network of actually participating. It takes me back. I started it. My first project in live events was at an outside broadcast, and I didn't have a clue. I was the intern kid, right? And they showed me how to roll cables, and they gave me a two-way radio, and I thought, man, I've made it. I'm important. I've got a radio. But it was amazing. I think one of the biggest takeaways for me, though, was I really did learn how to put my hand up and say, yeah, I'll do that. Now, I took some risks. I did run probably a lot of coffee, and I can really reinforce that strategy, but it is about connecting people and really, I guess, anything that I would reinforce is that you do have to put your hand up, put yourself forward, and say, yeah, I can do that, maybe, hopefully. But you'll be given opportunities. I think that is one of the key things. So another couple of questions here is from Stu. Hi, Stu Meissen. To use students as exciting and brave, they served as interns with established broadcasters, or did you think of tasking them as an intern team to produce something like a camera off record?
I mean, interns with established broadcasters, in our case, we didn't really go with this. We didn't offer for the students to be also with the broadcasters because it would be a bit too complicated, and each broadcaster had their own production plan. So that's why we kept them on the organization side, and they were servicing and helping broadcasters, as we said, mixed zone, interviews, and just filming in general in Jakarta. We can have them, sorry, I'm reading the question at the same time, intern team to produce something like a camera on record. That's what we did with the game news update team. There was some training because it was over the course of 6 months. So event time, they were still doing it for the organization, not for the broadcasters. But this can be done. It can totally be done in your country. If you have your broadcaster and you take on a team of interns before the event starts and you get them on board and they follow you during the competition, that's also a great opportunity. They're part of your team.
Yeah. Okay, good points. So another one here. So how would you recommend leading a similar project to find the correct profile of students in countries that may not have a sports culture as part of the entertainment industry? I mean, was that an issue in Jakarta, or does Indonesia have a good, strong sports communities and following?
I mean, the skills that we chose were not according to their passion for sports. A lot of the students that we had, some of them were, I mean, we asked them, so we had this little, question quiz that we would fill in with crosses and really quickly. I mean, remember we were doing 5 to 10 minutes interviews, so that was really short. And part of them was sports. I mean, if you're not playing football, if it's not basketball, I think all the other sports were not really covered in Indonesia. Remember, the country is about 35 degrees and 80% humidity, so there's a lot of sports you don't really practice, and also maybe all the facilities were not there. But they got attracted by the concept of working on a big event, and what we needed is people who are passionate about sports is an add-on, but what we needed was language skills and flexibility and soft skills of being very reactive and being experienced to do voluntary work. A lot of them, for example, did voluntary work in their church or in their religious premises. So we knew, when we selected them, we knew that they were used to training younger kids, help them with their homework, helping older people. All these things, you kind of master it, and this shows you that this person should be selected, not because he's good at sports, but because he's got those other skills.
Yeah, great answer.
Yeah.
So another one was question here from Tom. So can you tell us a bit about how you recruited the universities and the students? Were there existing partnerships with the unis, or was it based on geographic locations?
So it was a mix. There was also a lot of help from the organizing committee. That's the thing. We came on the project, we had about a year, well, 8 months to prepare all of this. You can imagine that we were not going to go and scan every single university. So we did rely a lot on what type of, there were no partnerships before, that's what I should say. We first relied on what were their majors and which majors would be interesting. We did have some students who studied agriculture or studied art, who joined the project, who were awesome. But generally, we did go for branches, for universities where they had branches which were related to engineering, broadcast, communication, international relations. Secondly, we got a lot of support from the organizing committee. I think that was really important. And thirdly, we did go for the host cities as well. Remember that we were not going to fly students from Palembang to Jakarta or the other way around, and some from Bandung. Knowing what the transport setup was in the country, we really tried to have universities which were in the cities or even sometimes close to the competition areas.
Yeah, that's a great strategy, I think. Yeah, I mean, because it is a big cost. One of the big costs for developing a major sport event is moving all the people there to do the delivery. So yeah, so seeking locally makes a lot of sense. Great. So another one here. Sorry, we've got a few more minutes. So another one here from Misaki. Sorry if I pronounce the names wrong. It's may I ask your perspective on the key to attract so many women? Good question. I've worked for broadcasting production, specializing in sports in my country, which gave me a lot of difficulties as a minority and as a woman. Great question, Misaki.
Yeah, no, it's great. To be very honest, we were also surprised, but maybe it goes with the culture, or maybe it just went with the universities that we went with. The women were highly motivated. A lot of the jobs that we were doing, that we were presenting as well, were not engineering related, which means that we would actually be recruiting people who were comfortable talking in public, which were comfortable for doing logistics, which was help for water runs, help for transport. These are all tactical skills, or more practical skills. I think in that sense, if you communicate correctly about the job descriptions, if you show that in your job description it can apply to a man or a woman, they will apply a bit more easily as well. It's always coming back to communication. The more detailed you are in the tasks that the people are going to do, the more a student is going to come up, man or woman, and say, oh, I could do this, or oh, I could do this. I do believe as well that maybe it's because, Indonesian students were so motivated. I mean, we had 2/3 of the applicants were women. And it was really amazing.
I think there was additionally, we did another webinar with Nadia Bonjour.
Yeah.
Issues of gender-specific terminology, language, and you highlight a really key point about communication. So, as you say, if we can structure the job description so it doesn't say cameraman, it says camera operator, camera person. Those things I think can really help contribute and shift the behaviors and the habits that we have around gender specifications, if you like. So, great question. Okay, we've got time for just two more. So on the subject, this one's from Guy. Hi, Guy. So on the subject of games news updates, leading up and during the Asian Games, did the students have a perspective on local stories, or more on the international scope of the event, if that makes sense?
They were. It was mostly content that was done locally, which means they were covering the preparation of the event in the different venues. Mm-hmm. They were, it was. It wasn't on the international scope. It's not like they were going to go and film the different teams who were preparing overseas. We really wanted to have some content pre-event where we could show people the preparation of the venues, have interviews as well of the key people on site, which were political people, sports people from the local organizing committee. So this product that we did, we really kept it local. But that was the concept of the program as well. What would be the interest of having a local team and asking them to source content internationally when this can be done by other production crews? What we can't do as much as with international production crews is have students, and in this case, videographers and editors who are there. They live there. They know their own, they know their environment. They know how to interview people. They know when they'll catch them. They know which area to go to. You say for the drone filming, they know which areas are more interesting to film. So yeah, if you do such a project, I think it's important to be sure that you define your scope, and the scope has to be more local, in this case, Indonesia.
Yeah, because I think, the Asian Games is a massive event. I worked on the Asian Games in 2006 in Doha, and the scale of these multi-sport events. And Guy makes a great point. Not everybody understands that we work on the Continental Games. We're still talking thousands of athletes.
Yeah, more than 40 countries as well. Huh?
I think we're. I don't have the stats in front of me, so if someone wants to pull it in the message, please do. But I know that the scale of these events is huge. Having worked on past Asian Games with sub 10,000 athletes, it's huge. So I want to say, I think if we've got any more last questions, now's the chance to pop them on the message. I wanted to just answer a comment there from Neil about how do we stay connected. Part of the purpose of these webinars and these Meet the Members, what we're promoting here at SportWorks is really looking at ways to connect people with fellow sport workers like myself and Armelle and many of the other speakers, to share our journeys and share some of our experiences as we go through, but also to promote this concept of connecting and sharing our knowledge. I love hearing about these stories, and I think it's very easy when we're busy delivering, doing our projects, we can sometimes lose sight of what's happening. So one of the motivations behind these series is to really start connecting and just share the experiences. So on that note, I really wanted to say thank you so much, Armelle. Great presentation, really great story. Like I say, I'm quite passionate about the legacy piece. It is about people. It is about the people of our industry. So I want to say thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us today. Amazing this afternoon, and I just want to say thank you. This has been recorded, and we're going to put it out on YouTube, so you can forward it on to your friends and colleagues as you see. So Armelle, thank you so much. Anything else you want to say for close?
No, I'm good. Thanks for your time. I think in those confinement times, it's great that we still get to share, and still we still get to connect as well. I think it's really important, and it's a moment where we get to reflect about our past experiences, especially in broadcast, where sometimes we're just running after time. So for once, it's nice to be able to take a step back and share those experiences, because it's always going to be positive for somebody else. So thank you very much for given me the time to and the opportunity to share this experience.
A pleasure, a pleasure. Look forward to having you back again to share more of your journeys and stories. Great stuff. Okay, well, I wish everybody a safe afternoon. Please remember, wash your hands and stay safe. And we look forward to seeing you again soon on the SportWorks Talks. Good afternoon, everyone. Bye.
Bye.